So, Home Alone 2 director Chris Columbus says Trump lives rent-free in his head. Oh, no, sorry. Says cameo is a curse. The Trump cameo is a curse, and he wishes he could cut it. But if he cuts it, he fears he's going to be deported back to his ancestral homeland of Italy. That's genuinely what he says. So bear with me, guys. This is going to be a riot. Bo, I know you're finding this funny already, but this isn't a prank. This is legit. Chris Columbus has said he has a Donald Trump-shaped albatross around his neck. The American director admitted that his decision to include the US president in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, is akin to a curse on the much-loved franchise. In an interview with the San Francisco Chronicle, Columbus said he would like to cut the 7-second cameo from the 1992 movie, but worries he will be deported by the Trump administration. It's become this curse. This is a direct quote. It's become this thing that I wish it was not there. It's become an albatross for me. I just wish it was gone. There's more. There's more. I can't cut it. If I cut it, I'll probably be sent out of the country. I'll be considered sort of not fit to live in the United States. So I'll have to go back to Italy or something. He's not from Italy. His ancestors are from Italy. So he thinks they're going to deport him to his ancestral homeland. Mamma mia. I like how he also does acknowledge that actually the reason why he included it is because when we screened it, direct quote, for the first time, the oddest thing happened. People cheered when Trump showed up on screen. So I said to my editor, leave him in the movie. It's a moment for the audience. Not anymore. All right, not anymore, because the director's got TDS. All right? Mm. Not anymore. That's it. That's the story, basically. Bo, let's go to you first, mate.
Well, while you were speaking there, I just quickly Googled it. Yeah, he's born in Pennsylvania. Yeah. So, I mean, this is it's TDS to sort of absurd comical levels, isn't it? I mean, I've never actually looked up what Chris Columbus looks like. Again, well, obviously Googling it, just to check where he was born. I did quick. He looked super weak, like a super weak-chinned, doe-eyed, sort of skinny-necked, sort of soy boy, graying soy boy. Like that's what he looks like. What a pathetic thing to say. The only reason anyone remotely remembers Home Alone 2 post like 1998 is for the Donald Trump cameo. That's the only reason. It's not a great movie. Like Home Alone 1 is all right. Home Alone 1 is like a half decent Christmas movie. For what it is, it's a 7, it's an 8 out of 10. Okay. But Home Alone 2 is just redoing that in a more shit way.
Yeah.
So it's not a brilliant movie. It's like a 6. It's like a 5 or 6 out of 10 movie. Right? The Donald Trump cameo is the only bit worthy of note in that film, right? And yeah, people probably clapped when they first saw it because back then in the early 90s or mid 90s, whenever it was, Donald Trump obviously didn't have this baggage of being Mr. Hitler's going to destroy the Republic and make himself king or whatever. He was like a darling, not to everyone, but he was like a darling of the nation. He was like, even for a long time, even into the early 2000s, he was a byword for being a successful New York business dude. That's what Donald Trump was. If anyone doesn't remember, most people who are old enough will, of course, remember. He's just shorthand for something almost like the American dream. Here's a guy, I mean, he's a rich kid from his father was rich, but nonetheless, he turned that fortune into a much, much bigger thing and made himself famous. It's just a New York oligarch, millionaire, billionaire dude, right? So to have someone like that in the movie is just, yeah, of course people clap because it's Donald Trump. Yeah, he's got a few enemies, a few sort of resentful commies that hate capitalism in and of itself. But other than that, like there's a bit in I think it's Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance, where someone says something to a woman and a shorthand for saying, yeah, right, pigs will fly. She says, yeah, right, and I'm going to marry Donald Trump. Do you remember that line? Because it's just, so yeah, people, nearly everyone used to like Donald Trump. You might think he's a bit of a dick. He had a weird haircut, but nobody really hated his guts. Anyway, so now for Chris Columbus to come out and say this, like, what is it, 30 years later or something? Like, it's really, really pathetic. What a weakling. What a moral and intellectual weakling. What an emotional weakling. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's transcended comedy or not. I suppose it is funny. It is funny to hear someone like Chris Columbus say that, but okay, there you go.
You know, he's made dozens of movies since then. And you're right, Bo. This is the only thing of note, the only noteworthy moment in that movie, because it's a complete remake, basically. You know, Kevin ends up in New York. And so you have this little 7-second. Trump just says over there or something. He barely says a word. But you know how this is. And yes, he looks like a soy boy simp. There's no doubt. He's virtue signaling just to tell you. But he didn't put out a press release to Deadline to say, by the way, that 32-year-old movie of mine has Trump in it, and I wish it did. You know. Macaulay Culkin has been calling for this scene to be cut.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You know, Macaulay makes occasional, because he's in Hollywood. I mean, same thing. He's of that mindset. And obviously, and for the record, CBC, Canadian Broadcasting, did cut the scene, but it was several years ago, back during his first election. So they were early sufferers of TDS.
Unbelievable.
But, you know, this just goes to show you that you need physical media. You can't count on these streaming services not to cut awkward things, you know, or things that might be controversial politically now, right? It's like, obviously, Trump, you're right. You're 100% right, Bo, that Trump for decades has been considered sort of the icon of success. I mean, rap stars would talk about him.
Yeah.
Other comments in movies. I mean, he's just sort of the apex predator of successful businessmen, if not the world, at least in America. And now, of course, he's in politics. Now, back then, he was hanging out with Hillary and Bill, and he was a Democrat. And kind of saw how that played. And who knows? I mean, if he's just a master chessman that's just said, well, it was going to be easier for me to take over the Republican Party than the Democrat Party. I'm a Trump supporter. I'm a conservative. But I know how people react. I have friends that still send me, you know, they're sending me a clip of John Oliver talking about trans athletes. And I'm like, should I send you Joe Rogan clips? I mean, what are we doing here? Why are you trying to convince me with a John Oliver if you want to talk about more soy boys, right? I don't know. It's just there's sort of this weird divide in the whole world now between people who are sort of this, I don't know, maybe toxic masculinity is not the right word, but just really wanting to be masculine, strength, victorious, traditional, conservative. Normal. What's that? Yeah, normal.
Normal. Should be a normal bloke.
And then these people who are pushing everything that is the antithesis of it. And so, but I say all that to say Chris Columbus was probably just minding his own business, and some entertainment reporter from Deadline said, hey, what about that Trump scene from Home Alone 2? What do you think about that? And he probably rolled his eyes, you know.
They did an interview with San Francisco Chronicle or whatever it's called.
Okay, well,
Deadline's just reporting on something that he had in an interview elsewhere.
If I could make another quick point, it's something a bit more than just like realizing how pathetic an individual like Chris Columbus is, how weak-minded they are. There's something a bit more sinister to it than that as well. There's this idea of trying to rewrite the past, or to try and well, the two examples flip into my head. Obviously, is 1984, where Winston's job in 1984 is to rewrite news that has already been, rewrite it and replace in the archives what the old news used to be, so that the party is shown to have never been wrong. right? And that's obviously a very, very exaggerated example of what we're talking about. But in the Soviet Union and in the Stalinist period, there's a classic example of where I can't remember who he's standing next to. Stalin is famously standing next to. It was one of his NKVD chiefs, and it was a photo of them together. And they a very, very, very early version of Photoshop wiped him out of it and re-released the photo, so that guy wasn't there. So not only is he dead now, but he never existed. You're not allowed to remember that he existed. That is wrong think. That puts you on the wrong side of the party, on the wrong side of what is correct. Right? That's really, really sinister. The idea that we'll try and cut Trump out of Home Alone 2 and never mention that he was ever in it as well, though. You know, that ever existed. It really is a slippery slope, that once you try and pretend the past was something that it wasn't. It's not an exaggeration on my part to say that you're only 1 or 2 steps away, really, from an insane Soviet style madness or a 1984 style insanity. So it doesn't sound like much. Let's just cut Trump out of Home Alone 2, but again, it's the thin end of the wedge.
Yeah, I mean, it's just trying to push a narrative that no one has ever liked him. It's like, what? Come on now. Like he was effectively a pop culture figure, right? Like that's what he was. He was in the zeitgeist, right? Like he was. He was, and it's just a bizarre, really bizarre. Well, it's evil, quite frankly.
I mean, if he were a homicidal murderer or a child predator, I could understand thinking, well, maybe we should for television broadcast, we're going to cut that out for future reasons, right? You know, just because we think it's just unsavory and we don't want him standing there with a young lad in the store because he's known for raping little boys or some kind of bizarre thing like that. But this is just, he's the Republican president and you don't like his politics. That's it. Yeah. That's your reason. And if you let people like this be in charge, could you imagine if they were in charge they were the archivists of film history? They'd be removing everything. It's like Disney, obviously, they're airbrushing Daryl Hannah's butt out of Splash. They're taking Popeye Doyle's racial epithets out of The French Connection. They'll cut scenes here and there. They'll put trigger warnings on everything if you let them. And this Chris Columbus probably regrets the fact that he's not in charge of where this streams and that scene streams. He'd cut it out if he could. There's no doubt.
100% it would. Yeah. 100%. Well, we wouldn't, because he'd get deported, apparently.
No, of course not. It's ridiculous to even say that. I mean, come on, dude. Come on.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, 100%. Well, there we go. Anyway, let's move on from this now.